As the players approach the court for the first of our live matches this evening, featuring the Australian US Open champion, Patrick Rafter, and he will be up against Todd Martin. Will be their first meeting, and a fascinating one through, and it's always interesting now to see how a player follows up a big win, as Rafter is, of course.
Yes, exactly, particularly against somebody that he hasn't met before, who looks to be playing almost near the best tennis that I've seen Martin play for some time. Out with an injury, perhaps he's back and invigorated and hungry.
Yes, Todd Martin, of course, has had elbow surgery early this year, but let's look in more depth at one of the contestants in this match. That's Patrick Rafter, and we'll do that in the company of Chris Bowers. All yours, Chris.
Thanks, David. Yes, this is Pat Rafter, the new kid on the block in the world elite. 24 years old, from Queensland, lives now in Pembroke, Bermuda. A natural serve and volleyer, and a man with a great temperament. So how good is Rafter? Well, we sought the views of the former Australian Wimbledon champion, Pat Cash.
Well, I think he's been a surprise to everybody, how well he's done. I don't think he even thought he could do as well as he did this year. It's to his credit. He's a very good athlete, and he works very hard, and I think it proves to everybody that if you work hard, you can do well.
Not a lot. I do most of my work on the court. The other work I do is in the gym. So that's all I do.
So how hard does he work? Well, this was his great moment of triumph at the US Open earlier in the year. Here he is now, living up to the reputation of being a Grand Slam champion.
Oh, not really. I guess it's still hard to believe at times. People keep reminding me, saying well done, but it still sort of goes in one ear out the other.
Don't believe it. This is just to keep the pressure off himself. Yeah, he's yet to be back to Australia since winning the US Open. It's going to be a bit of a tough journey for him. Still, he's a balanced lad.
Oh, it's a long, long way, I think. And there's Paris next week as well, and who knows what's going to happen here. Then there's Paris, but Pete hasn't got much to defend in Paris, I don't think, and so he can make it all back up there.
Rafter's opponent today is Todd Martin, 27 years old, back to some of his best form since having shoulder problems. What does Rafter think about Martin?
Todd's a great player. He looks like he's starting to play well again, so I've never beaten him. So we wait and see how tonight goes, but I'm going to have to serve very well.
That's Pat Rafter. Back to our commentary box, David Mercer.
Thanks very much, Chris. Looking forward to meeting up with you in Paris-Bercy on Monday, where we'll of course be starting our coverage of the next of the Mercedes Super 9 events, indeed the last of this year. So Todd Martin through to his second quarterfinal since coming back from the elbow surgery he had in February. Reached the quarterfinals in Vienna a couple of weeks ago and lost there, of course, to Greg Ruzetsky. So a limited season this year, just 18 matches played. Ranking has obviously stepped down to 64. As a result, he had to qualify here, and he didn't. He lost in the final round to his fellow American Alex O'Brien, but then when Magnus Norman, the Swede, who was injured in the final in Ostrava, pulled out, he got in as a lucky loser, and boy, has he used that. And here's another man who's suffered from injury and needed surgery. That's Patrick Rafter, of course, who's had some real wrist problems in 1995. He had wrist surgery in October of that year, And really it took him until about the middle of last year before he got fully fit. But what a wonderful year he's had with 58 wins. You compare that with 25 wins in the whole of last year. And Patrick Rafter knows that if he goes on to win this tournament, he goes to number 2 in the world. And what an achievement that will be. And obviously, Frew, he's the highest ranked player. Indeed, he's the only one of the top 8 seeds still left in the draw. And you've got to say, what an opportunity for him.
Well, it is. It's a very fast court. Well, very fast. It's pretty fast court. A low bouncing ball. I'm not actually sure that suits Rafter. I think he prefers something that bounces up a little bit. And nevertheless, though, he should be somewhat relieved that some of the big guns like Sampras are already out of the way here. But this is not going to be an easy match. Martin now at the stage, of course, where he should feel that he's really got nothing to lose playing against the US Open champ. Therefore, perhaps should not have the jitters that he sometimes does have. And I thought in yesterday's match against Curtin, he's played the best tennis that I've seen him play, and that includes the matches in Vienna. Umpire Grillotti will be in charge of this one. 2 very fair players, so he really shouldn't have any problems, although you never know.
Incidentally, they put up that caption there saying previous meeting. That is a mistake. I've just double checked. These 2 players have never played against each other, so please ignore that. These are the points and prize money. You can see huge points at stake, obviously, as well as a vast amount of money. You're getting, if you win this match, you get an extra 80 computer ranking points, plus whatever bonuses you pick up. And there's a difference of $46,000 between winning and losing this match. Incidentally, as a result of his victory over Nicholas Kifo that you were watching with Chris Bowers a few minutes ago, Jonas Bjorkman has leapt up to number 6 in the race for Hanover, the race for the World Championship. Remember, the top 8 will qualify. And let's have a look at how that stood. Now, this was the situation at the beginning of the week, but Bjorkman has now leapt above Bruguera, Muster and Korecha into the top 8, and if he wins tomorrow, then he would leap above Ruzetsky, and he would go to number 4 in the race to Hanover. So Jonas Bjorkman has really, with a good week here, put himself in the driving seat. The other person who's now got a great chance, remember Patrick Rafter has already qualified along with Sampras and Chang. The other man who's really moving up this week, apart from Bjorkman, is Richard Krajicek, because Krajicek, if he goes on to win the tournament, having beaten, as he would have to do, Magnus Larsson in our second live match tonight, and then Jonas Bjorkman, and then if he beat Patrick Rafter in the final, he would actually be just 2 points behind Jonas Bjorkman in 7th place. So Krajicek and Bjorkman are the men who really have been advancing their cause this week, and both of them now have a good chance. I personally think through that Jonas Bjorkman has probably done enough this week to get there, because if you look at the other people around him, they're unlikely to pick up huge points in Paris next week. I mean, they may confound us, of course, the Moyas, the Brugueras, the Curtins, and so on, but my feeling is that we're going to see Bjorkman in Hanover.
Well, I think it'll be the reward for a lot of hard work. You heard Rafter there talking about all the effort that he's put in, and there's no doubt about that. Not only on the practice court, where of course it isn't necessarily as visible, but he's played an awful lot. Did a lot before the French, got to the semis there, did a lot before the US Open in terms of playing. There was no such thing as a rest week immediately before. And with Bjorkman, it's been much of the same, really. It battled hard, and his match against Henman, I thought, was ultra competitive.
Yes, it was a very fine match. Let's hope we're in for a very fine match here. There's 1 or 2 people still taking their seats behind Patrick Rafter. A match between 2 very nice men. And it's Rafter, the US Open champion, to serve. And Todd Martin looking very sharp.
Yes, the importance here is Rafter is going to have to serve a lot of first serves in. You can see he's on the service line when he plays that first volley. Can only just pop it back up.
First serve, I say 15-30.
Although he hasn't got an ultra fast serve, Rafter, it's a serve that throws in a variety of kicks and spins, allied to greater speed on the first serve, of course, than the second.
Unique amongst the top players in not having a permanent coach. He works some of the time with Tony Roach, some of the time with John Fitzgerald. No coach here this week. But no shortage of practice partners.
It's one of the areas where he would look to trouble Martin is on the quickness of the serve volley. Just give Martin little time to get those big limbs moving.
Patrick Rafter, the third youngest of 9 children from Mount Isa in Queensland, real bush country.
Well, we've seen a lot of effective lobs over the last few weeks as the baseliner tries to damage the incoming volleyer.
An immediate break of serve for Todd Martin. Then Rafter lost the first set of his last match against David Prinisill and came back. Todd Martin off to the ideal start. An immediate break of serve and now serving himself at 1-love. 27 years of age, born in Hinsdale, Illinois. Now living down in Florida, Ponte Vedra Beach, where the ATP Tour has its worldwide headquarters. It's in the northeastern part of Florida, near Jacksonville, near the Sawgrass Golf Course, where the Tour Players Championship is played.
Well, that's one of the problems for Rafter, depth, and the ball really not getting up. Martin hits these long, low, flat shots.
Oh, my word. A skimmer. You could imagine that one bouncing 4 times off the court and reaching the far bank.
That's an absolute dream shot. He ought to somehow try and encapsulate this one.
für 2 Goal. Elite 2 loves.
Had 3 love service games against Gustavo Kuerten last night, and really I thought played extremely sound tennis. Didn't give Kuerten much of a chance really to come to grips with this indoor surface.
Incidentally, the draw for next week's tournament, the Open de Paris, is being made at this very moment, and before we go off the air tonight, we're hoping to have it for you. It's going to be faxed to the tournament offices here, and we've asked that we be brought up copies, and we'll obviously let you know in particular how Greg Rosetsky and Tim Henman have fared in the draw and so on. Well, everything going right for Todd Martin, and here are 3 points for 3 love. It's great when your miss hits are as equally effective as your best shots. And you really expected him to make that one too.
Came very, very close. I was just wondering when Rafter was going to stay back behind the second serve. Of course, he likes to plough on and on and on, believing that generally speaking he's going to break down the return, but just getting a little too dangerous here, not winning any points. He had to stay back then. Now will he stay back here?
Right, 30-40.
Well, that'll encourage him, because that was a rather nervy shot from Martin.
And the first ace of the match to save the third break point. Rafter playing here for the first time. Martin reached the third round last year. That's the round of the last 16. Rafter extricates himself from a love 40 situation, but he's still to break behind, 2-1. Todd Martin to serve, 2-1 up, as we welcome you back to our live coverage of quarterfinals evening in the Eurocard Open. Already through, of course, to the semi-finals, Peter Korda and Jonas Bjorkman.
Second serve.
Yes, it was absolutely the right idea.
Yes, Martin can't believe his luck. Lovely bit of wrong footing, but you can see the respect that Martin already has for Rafter's volleys, moving quickly one way, thinking he was going to go cross court. It's not because of bouts against him, of course, it's having seen him at the US Open.
50,
and knowing that he is one of the best volleyers around.
The first point that Rafter's won against the serve.
50-7, 40-15.
Well, he's giving him the odd chance, for instance, on the volley at 40 love, and there again on that point. But I think he's really trying to play within himself, as it were, not trying to hit flat out, trying to remain cool, calm and collected, and perhaps also still just a little aware of his arm. He says he's really not totally out of the woods yet, even though he had his surgery way back in February.
He's getting a little fed up with life as Patrick Rafter at the moment. Normally he's so sharp around the net. Low volleys, half volleys.
He's got this rich variety of serving, Rafter. So evident in that last game when he was love 40 down.
Perfect placement and useful speed, 194 Ks. Signs there that Rafter beginning to settle into his normal sort of form. What a support from the ball kids, I notice. 3-2 Martin. 3-2 Todd Martin is ahead. Winner to play Peter Korda. Don't forget later on tonight we've got Richard Krajicek against Magnus Larsson. First ace from Martin.
Yes, generally speaking, a more frequent hitter of aces than is Rafter, even though Rafter's improved his ace count this year.
Martin, of course, has the advantage of 6'6", 1m98, so he's probably hitting it from 10 feet or above. Finds the line, Rafter.
Yes, very outside of the line, but it got enough of it. Purposely slowed down his return, which gave him a bit more time for the second shot, Rafter. And providing he kept it low, that is. Well, perhaps playing just into Rafter's hands there by serving reasonably slowly and staying back. That's what the Panther wants.
Oh, well, that was reminiscent of that volley, wasn't it? And just as good technique.
Yes.
Striking by the 30.
The important thing is do exactly as he did there and remain calm, because the side of Rafter coming in is going to put you off. So you want to keep your eye off Rafter and watch the ball.
Oh dear. That was a rank bad judgment.
30-40.
It was on the inside of the line. And it's break-back point.
Actually overran the ball. Just didn't get his footwork in sync with his arm. Well, he's done what Curtin never did, get to break point. In fact, there was only one deuce in that match on the Martin serve.
Yep, says Todd Martin, acknowledging that Patrick Rafter has broken back. And suddenly we see the significance of those 3 points that Todd Martin had for the double break.
My goodness, yes. And also the significance of missing first serves and Rafter pouncing on them and coming in, which means that Martin on this serve takes quite a lot of pace off the ball, just 166 Ks, and gives Rafter the opportunity to get across to it.
23 minutes gone, 3-all.
Well, it would probably have been closer to going out than was the one that Martin left. But Rafter wasn't going to chance it at all.
Well, Rafter doing a Martin there, taking the pace off, 164, kicking it in, and Martin onto it very quickly. It really was an opportunity, because a fine return had elicited the short ball.
Yes, didn't complete his follow through there, just a little edgy as he played it, Martin.
Patrick Rafter moves in front for the first time in the match by the margin of 4 games to 3. Welcome back. So Patrick Rafter now 4-3 up, having been 2-love down in this quarter-final match. I suppose with them in identical gear, we could say it's a battle for territorial possession between two Panthers. New balls in play.
I'd like to say I saw Martin out in the practice court practicing this one today. Years of experience.
Try signal 30.
Having to put on the brakes very quickly there, Martin, to avoid fouling the net, touching the net. You do that before the ball's bounced twice. Point to the other side.
Players always a little concerned when a ball goes into the crowd because they're never sure whether the crowd's going to throw it back whilst the point is in progress. Well, he had success with the backhand return in the last Rafter service game. Will Rafter serve a few more times to the forehand and also serve into him? There's a lot of him to serve into.
No coach here this week for Patrick Rafter. He's got a friend with him from Australia, who's a pretty useful player himself, apparently. He says he likes to have mates around, they keep him down to earth.
Equidistant from the body than the previous one, but the forehand looking a lot better than the backhand.
Well, Rafter convinced he'd found the line. That's the lady line judge in question. I wonder if we're going to get one of our replays or a Cyrus.
They're certainly way up the service block, totally irretrievable.
And that sort of rubs it in a little harder.
This one didn't quite sizzle. And so you can see the bounce there, not particularly perplexing for Martin. Martin just asking people to be quiet during the rally.
Two points to move in front again. Call that one out if you dare. Not a bad second serve. Well, some tremendous returning there from Todd Martin. And the American will serve for the opening set now at 5-4. For a second time, Todd Martin is up a break in this opening set, and now at 5-4, his chance to serve for the set. First double fault.
Must be very close. Martin going up to have a look-see.
Well, yes, it certainly was very, very close. I think we can just see a space. That's the Cyrus device, the infrared.
Puts it back at 15.
Well, if there's tension, Rafter's certainly going to bring it out in an opponent. Martin surely showing it there.
Out.
Yes, and again a little shaky volley, and of course this will be a huge win for Todd Martin in terms of his comeback. It would lift him up the rankings considerably. But now 2 breakback points.
Just got a little bit more kick on that, Martin. It's a bit like this sort of serve the drafter himself uses.
I think the ball girl was quite enjoying being that close to Mr. Rafter.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's a good deep second serve. Needs the first one in there. Take the heat off.
Well, it's not a bad idea to come in on the second serve to deny the chip and charge return, but you've got to make a good volley behind it.
Yes, particularly as Rafter really has got fair returns, but I wouldn't call them great returns.
It's the wobbly wrist at the moment and the none too steady arm. Oh,
this is going to be interesting.
well, what had happened? The line judge called out. Romano Grillotti, seeing it was a tight call, immediately said out to emphasize it, and then the line judge has changed her mind, and Grillotti saying, no, you're not changing your mind, it was out. Let's see what we reckon. Out.
Yes, justice stands. But Rafter, understandably a little peeved. Huge point.
Yes, set point now. Certainly an eventful opening set. 39 minutes it took, and it goes to Todd Martin, 6 games to 4.
And you can see he's still thinking a bit about the fact that he's just tapping his volleys rather than really hitting them. But I think his real problem is in the serve, Martin. I think he could do better than to serve directly at Rafter. Gives him a target.
We've had a qualifier win a Mercedes Super 9, Roberto Carretero winning the German Open in Hamburg last year. Can't imagine we've ever had a lucky loser winning a Super 9. Fourth ace. Lucky loser, of course, someone who loses in the final round of qualifying but gets in when a vacancy appears because a player pulls out of the main draw. Oh, absolutely nothing lucky about that. Just sheer class.
Yes, and the lucky loser too, the highest ranked of the losers in the last round.
Beautiful combination of volleys there. First one, perfect depth. Martin forced backwards. And then a sucker for the drop shot. Rafter's second double fault. The first was on the first point of the match.
Well, you've got to be extremely fit, of course, to play the way Rafter plays. On the other hand, you've also got to be very, very fit if you're going to play matches from the baseline and run down a lot of balls. And here you've got to be agile, particularly agile, and adept, really, at changing direction quickly in mid-court.
Well, suddenly lost the kicker to the backhand. No, just missed it.
Yes, a little mad with himself here, Rafter. Not so much, I think, because he missed the volley, because he was certainly late in it, a bit beaten by the pace of the Martin two-hander. But I think it's just the fact that he's not getting enough sting on the serve, not getting Martin to push up enough easy for him to volley. And you can see throwing his head back in disgust.
Serving at 53% of first serves in at the moment.
Playing it just a little higher above the ground than the previous one, but he was a sitting duck for the lob here. But Martin making the mistake of thinking of lobbing over him rather than thinking of lobbing towards the baseline. You've got to give yourself space.
First service.
Very good example here of Martin staying with the shot. You can see the racket head extended above his shoulders there. Nice follow through. Often the good sign of a shot well struck.
Left. First service.
One of those exasperating evenings for Rafter at the moment. I thought he'd come up with a perfect ace. Must have just brushed the very top of the net. Break point. So as in the first set, Todd Martin gets an immediate break of serve, and the US Open champion not at all happy out there. Todd Martin, a set and a breakup, 1-love over Patrick Rafter. And a real buzz here. Remember, Rafter, the only one of the top 8 seeds to have made it to the last 8. And now he's in danger of falling by the wayside.
Hotel 15 left.
Seeing Martin's toe as close to the line as it was, just as close as that ball was. They're very keen on their foot faulting here, so you better watch out. Fußfehler.
Certainly the longest rally of the match.
Yes, and Martin's best ever showing in the French was the 4th round in 1991. He lost to Jim Curry in 3 straight. Rafter, of course, a semi-finalist, and that was a French-style rally.
Yes, and thinking of coincidences, when Todd Martin reached the 4th round of the French in 1991, he did so as a qualifier. So he's obviously a man who builds on playing in qualifying tournaments.
Well, you can hear all the Australians say, what was this, Blue? Because he had the whole court. Martin had gone the wrong way. And look at this. Gives us all hope.
Yes. Well, we referred to the panthers out there in the court. We're certainly getting some jungle noises.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, Martin made good ground there, didn't he? He didn't want to let that one drop below the level of the net. And really used his legs. You can almost hear him skipping in here. If he could do that a bit more often. You can see how slowly he walks back there. He's not in the mood to smile just yet.
No, he's very much the darling of the young ladies in the audience. And especially having announced to a German journalist yesterday that he's currently without a girlfriend. I think there are a few thousand volunteers in the auditorium.
Well, of course, what Martin would really like here is just an insurance policy, this double break. The best time for Rafter to lose his serve is very early in the set. It gives him a lot more time to break back, and a lot more time for Martin to hesitate.
Yep, good call. Just, but that's a very good call.
Well, forcing Martin wide here to play with the one hand. He's not as likely, even though we've seen a couple of beauties from him, not as likely to control it.
Oh, Well, that's a beautiful rally. He heard you, Free. You stung him into action.
Yeah, certainly this was the shot that made it possible. The one-handed steer down there, taking the pace off, enables Martin to come in a lot closer. No.
50-7. 40-15.
Well, had his racket head at the wrong angle there. He closed the face a little too soon. Ah, got it just right there.
40-30.
Just having practiced it, you can see they're just staying with the ball a little longer before closing the face. Really lost his technique on that serve. Almost bowled the ball over.
On the line.
Well, the timing had to be absolutely perfect here from Rafter. He didn't have much room.
Lovely variety of backhands. One down the line, one cross court.
Yeah, really plays this one technically very well. Look at the dip of the shoulder there, almost Edberg-like, and difficult to anticipate, having played one down the line, just where he was going to hit this one. The lob's always a possibility too.
As in the first set, Rafter breaks back, but of course it was still Martin who went on to win the set.
Yes, it's an important way for him now to just ram home this little psychological edge. Even though he's a set down, psychologically the second set has turned, so he feels a little bit more rampant.
Yes, and certainly playing like it. First love game of the match for Patrick Rafter. He's ahead now, 3-2 in the second set. Martin by a set to love. Todd Martin a set up, but now 2-3 down in the second against Patrick Rafter. Still to come tonight, Richard Krajicek against Magnus Larsson.
First set, 15 left. It's a 15 left.
That's a shot he normally plays quite comfortably. But really dumping it in the net rather uncomfortably here. Perhaps took it a little too easy. Well, showing that he too can play this. Didn't have to get off the ground quite as high as Rafter did.
That's a brilliant half volley.
Yes, caught Rafter unawares here. Started his grunting and groaning a little too late. Well, he's got more of those wide serves working, but not with any great power. Of course, you don't necessarily expect them when they're looking for angle to go for power, but he just seems to be bowling it in. And although Rafter's practiced the shot and made one good one down the line, he still hasn't perfected it during the course of this match.
Out come a new set of tennis balls. Wilson balls we're playing with this week on a Terraflex carpet court. Good to see there's still a very full stadium this evening, despite the fact there are no Germans left in the tournament. Nicholas Kiefer having lost earlier today. And admitting he was very, very tired after two big wins in the last couple of days over Harhaus and Ruzetsky.
Well, it ended up with, yeah, that's a nice shot from Todd Martin. I think I've heard more compliments between these two than I've heard all season long. Little applause even for Rafter.
Who shakes his head in appreciation of a fine return, or nods his head, I should say.
But then it's not surprised I haven't heard too many compliments, associating as much with Mr. Mercer as I've been.
True, I'm amazed. They always say the nicest things about you.
Incredible shot that from Martin. Hitting inside it with a waist spin.
Ace number 6.
It's got to be wide to get wide of him.
So after the early breaks, we've settled down to being on serve. 4-3 Rafter, second set. Patrick Rafter serving, Todd Martin serving, sorry, 3-4.
Tricycle 30.
And he really pushed that second serve in, just 138 kilometres.
Yes, technically not very sound from Rafter. He's set up quite nicely for him. But broadly speaking, he has improved his returning skills a lot, because they were pretty non-existent for quite some time, and they were really rating him down in Australia. He was only a one-dimensional player, but come on a lot. Like Rosetsky too.
Yes, very similar. After starting this year, ranked 62, and on paper at least has a chance of finishing it number 1.
57.
Mind you, if that's to be realistic, he really does need to win this match. Good overall. And clever play by Todd Martin as he levels at 4-all.
T.Martin, 4 games on.
Oh, we keep seeing fair play all around the hall here, but I'm sure Rafter doesn't look at it in that light, because he makes a really good forehand return and Martin comes up with a terrific wrong footing backhand volley. Nothing fair about that.
Terry Venables, take note. There's a young man out there with good trapping skills. If your Australian football team needs reinforcing. My word, that would have been a shot and a half, and he wasn't that far away from making it.
No, he would have, I suppose, got about 7 out of 10 for this, because he had to do quite a lot of moving. You can see him setting up there for the racket head wrapping around the ball. Well, this is Rafter's version of Sampras's slam dunk. A Highland fling, I suppose we could call it.
Yes, only a gentleman with Scottish ancestry could think in those terms. I'm not sure they do much Highland flinging down in Mount Isa, Queensland. Well, it's the longest sequence of the match of games going with serve. The last 5 have. And Rafter leads 5-4, second set.
It is 5-4.
Welcome back. Well, we promised you news of the draw for the Open de Paris, and I could tell you that Greg Rosetsky might well face Todd Martin in the second round. Greg will obviously get a bye as one of the seeds. that he will play the winner of Todd Martin, Jan Simmerink. And the news is that Tim Henman will play Hikam Arazi, the Moroccan, in the first round. Tim, of course, won't get a bye. It's interesting, Todd Martin, someone coming back from injury, he gets a protected ranking for a certain number of tournaments. I think it's 3, and he chose Paris as one of those 3, where his old ranking was high enough to get him in. He didn't choose this one, but came here to qualify on the basis of his existing ranking. 4-5.
Yes, I think it's 6 tournaments.
Is it you?
Yes. And 6 months.
Well, certainly not an easy first round or first match, I should say, for Greg Rosetsky again, having, of course, lost to Nicholas Kiefer. But then there are very few easy matches in the Super 9 events. Of course, Rosetsky beat Martin in Vienna in the quarterfinals in 3 sets.
And I think they like particularly the way Rafter almost talks to himself as he goes in to play this. Really forcing Martin to play it behind him. You see the bounce that Martin gets on this serve. That's why they're varying. They're coming through some a little lower, some a little higher. Otherwise, I think Rafter would be making a better job of timing his return there. Well, that was rather a weak capitulation there by Martin. It must give Rafter a really pretty good feeling.
Just a second, I beg your pardon, a third ace from Todd Martin. Not up was the call, and again a lovely little moment there, because so often players query not ups. This time it was Todd Martin nodding, no, I didn't get it up. Yep, isn't that nice?
Well, beaten by the turn there. Just not getting the racket around behind the ball.
Todd Martin very relieved to see that dribble back on Rafter's side of the net. Reminded me of the way Kiefer broke Brzezinski's serve for the first time the other night.
Yes.
The dribble over.
That's right. As even as can be this set, they've each lost 13 points on their serves. Didn't catch what he said, did you?
No, I was trying to work that out too. Obviously Strine.
Have to get a translator. Somebody who understands Australian.
Oh, that's a magnificent get. And of course, Martin gave that pass his full attention.
Look at Rafter here. Stretches like a piece of chewing gum. Watching Martin try to change course there reminded me of Ivan Lendl. He was always like a big locomotive. Once he got going in one direction, very difficult to change track.
Ace number 7.
Because balls that were kicked to other people, to Martin, are just about knee high.
Well, after giving himself a fearful whack on the thigh after that, with his racket. Sort of volley he certainly expects to make. And he's so good at making two on the stretch. Fourth double fault from Patrick Rafter, and here's Todd Martin with a point to lead 6-5 with his own serve to come. Bill Stransky would be pleased with that kicking method, the great South African goal kicker.
First service.
That had a lot of powerful right arm in it. Depth speed, bounce. Well, there aren't too many, of course, like him. It's a fairly rare breed, the consistent serve volleys.
A little clinch fist as Rafter comes through a real test. He's ahead, 6-5. It could so easily have been Martin ahead. The statistics. So Martin with more winners. Rafter with fewer errors. So Martin playing the more aggressive game. That those statistics would suggest taking more risks. 5-6, trying to serve it into a tiebreak. Another wonderfully deep second serve.
We'll see what happens when Martin gets the ball to bounce. So Rafter really has to get up on tiptoe.
Here's Rafter 6'1", 1m85, so giving away 5 inches.
A late but good call. First time Rafter's gone after the return on the backhand rather than just slicing it back. Greg Rossetti needed to do a bit more of perhaps against Kiefer the other night.
Here's Greg, who stayed on in Stuttgart to train with Tony Pickard this week after his defeat on Wednesday night.
Well, again, it's difficult to determine whether he's going to play it deep, as you would imagine, because he's looking to hurt the ball, and when he caresses it, it catches you out.
Jon Tyriak in the centre with the orange tie, the man who owns this tournament, promotes it and promotes the ATP Tour World Championship in Hanover as well. Love back to Juice.
Was it going in?
That's a huge question, isn't it? We shall never know, but we do know that Rafter has set point. Oh, missed it.
Terrific scramble by Martin, and he'd anticipated the backhand down the line. This is what saved him it, though. Almost a nasty slip there, but just regaining his balance and leaving that. Oh, pumped up.
He used the big serve when he needed it, and we're into a tie-break.
Well, I've got Martin 6-1 in tiebreakers, that's right. 21, exactly right.
What a great record is it for the world number 3 in tiebreaks? Surprisingly moderate.
Yes, he was even worse last year. He was 5-1, 14 lost, Rafter. Martin a lot better, 19-1, 12 lost, all of 96.
And Martin with the immediate mini break.
And this is one of the reasons why, because you can always get a draft to serve. I mean, get racket to ball, not always, but even though he's improved his power this year, certainly last year, it's just a matter of controlling it. Well, the serve straight at Rafter here, always very effective. He hasn't used it much. It's a real danger, that backhand down the line, because there's nothing wrong with the approach. And Martin had to play the volley because it was going in.
Eighth ace.
2-all.
Almost get the feeling that his personality now is beginning to take the tiebreak over. So competitive, he oozes it.
Ooh, my word. That would have been a shot and a half. And again, the players exchanged smiles because Martin knows how close he was.
Yes, close, and it didn't deserve to be close because Martin's volley, I thought, was a winner. You can see the relief on his face there, Martin.
Changed ends at 3-all.
It's a good variation, that, because he served mainly to the forehand, hasn't he? One just wonders whether the Americans in the Davis Cup hadn't worked this out about Rafter and Martin party to it.
Already going for the second serve there, Martin, and again his turn to be not far away from making it. Two set points, Rafter.
Well, the backhand it was that really was the more likely to threaten of the ground strokes, and been fed two of them in succession.
Fourth ace saves the first set point. The second is on the Rafter serve.
Well, he quite often ends up in a tangle, doesn't he, when he lifts himself wide for those forehands. 2 or 3 times in the set, rather important ones, when he's made the room, got over there with athleticism, and then just crumbled a bit.
Six all. Ninth ace brings Rafter his 4th set point, 3rd of the tiebreak. that's a wonderful angle.
Well, Martin started the match with something similar on the backhand side. Really just a magnificent shot. So much pressure, so much skill.
Well, Martin did so well to make the half volley, but it still wasn't good enough.
8-7. Rafter.
And for a second time, Rafter has set point on his own serve. One set all as Rafter wins the tiebreak by 9 points to 7 after an hour and 46 minutes. More winners than Martin in that second set. Remember, in the first it was Martin with more winners and more unforced errors. Nothing to choose between them, but one extra winner. I suppose that explains why Rafter won that one extra point.
It certainly was that even. 17 points each lost on their serve going into the tiebreaker.
Martin serving first this time. Remember, Rafter served first in the first two sets and promptly lost his serve.
Yes, an important time really to just keep your resolve here after the high tension of the tiebreaker. It's quite easily just to loosen up. And Rafter certainly seems to be as competitive as ever. And that shot from Martin, perhaps not so.
13-15. Fifteen. 14-15.
Good solid service game from Todd Martin to get the third set underway.
Yes, looking at all the flags there, what a terrific year it's been for the Australians. The 7 titles they've won this year. Fromberg was the last to win in, was it Bucharest, I think?
Yep.
Of course, the US Open, the biggie for them. A long time since they've annexed one of the majors. Pat Cash being the last. And stretching the Americans in the Davis Cup, getting through to the semi-final of the Davis Cup. Woodbridge and Woodford still top of the pile in terms of the doubles game. They were on court here earlier on, beat Knowles and Nestor.
Yes, I should have mentioned that Patrick Rafter and Tim Henman went out of the doubles yesterday to Jonathan Stark and Rick Leach in 2 straight sets, and Stark and Leach won again today. Rafter serving love 1, final set.
Yes, and Boris Becker and Gollner were out here until all hours of the night against Bupati and Pays, and lost in a very close 3-setter.
Bupati and Pays, the Indian Davis Cup pairing, who will certainly be playing in Hartford, the World Doubles Championships, the week after Hanover. And we'll have coverage of that. Semi-finals and final from the World Doubles on Eurosport next month. A fifth double fault from Rafter.
Yes, just the one love service game from him in the match, and only one from Martin. 2 so far.
And now Rafter into double figures in terms of aces.
He throws the ball just a little to his left. Looks as if he is going to get quite a bit of kick on it, but of course he's hitting with that action, but it's using more power than kick, so it's a slight mixture, but with the accent on the power. What it does do is give him a lot of control. Just acknowledging the new balls.
First set number 15.
Well, they're quite often rubbing away there as if there's a bit of perspiration. It can be pretty slick, and you can see as he moves across towards us, his left foot just gives way.
Yes, as we've remarked before, Todd Martin, one of the great perspirers on the men's tour, so inevitably some moisture around about the baseline. So there's the third love service game of the match. 2-1, Martin leads on serve. Final set. Welcome back. Patrick Rafter to serve. 1-2 final set. I've just been handed the full draw for Paris-Bercy, and we could have a very interesting second round clash, because Pete Sampras plays the winner of Mark Woodford and Boris Becker. So it could be Sampras against Becker in what might well be Becker's last appearance in a Mercedes Super 9 event.
Position 15.
Yes, a good long look there from Rafter. It was worth the second look. Six double. He seems to be making a habit now of following a double with an ace.
Comfortably out-acing Martin, which is unusual, but then Martin, I think, is a little restrained still with his arm. Martin normally averages close to 10 aces a match, and Rafter this year averaging just under 7 for all of his matches. It's a devil, that's a real mule kicker. Second serve too.
2 games all in the final set. Let's take you down the draw of Paris-Bercy. From the top of the draw, Pete Sampras gets a bye to play Becker or Woodford. Marc Rosset in the French wildcard, Arnaud Clément, who beat Rafter last week. They'll meet in the first round, the winner to play Peter Korda. Alex Corretja awaits Tim Henman or Hikam Arazi. So that's a pretty good draw for Henman, playing a Moroccan most at home on slower surfaces, although he did give Henman a really tough semi-final in Doha at the very start of the year to play Corretja, who's certainly most at home on slower surfaces.
Yes, who's the seed in his section?
Corretja is the 10th seed, and then Muster if he got to the quarters.
Ah, very good draw.
Sorry, if he got to the third round. Then it would be possibly Sampras, as Martin's goes only his 4th double. Some talk that Sampras is carrying an arm injury, still perhaps not fully recovered. Fault called after the let, so it's second serve. One lucky.
So often happens that, doesn't it? One net cord follows another. No reason why Rafter should have gone in, and Martin's out, at least in Martin's opinion.
Just continuing down the draw after Henman against Arazi, it's Chris Woodruff against Magnus Norman, the winner to play Thomas Muster. Then Greg Rosetsky awaits Jan Simmerink or Todd Martin. Then it's Jim Courier against Bodan Olirak, the winner to play Felix Mantilla. And Gustavo Curtin awaits either Nicolas Escudé or Alberto Berasategui, and the fact that Escudé's got a wild card means that they haven't given one to Kiefer, which won't exactly go down well with our German hosts here.
Won't go down well with his French mother either.
No. So Kiefer, if he wants to play next week, will have to start qualifying tomorrow. I'll be surprised if he goes to qualify. Two double faults in this game, and a real opportunity now for Rafter. And there's the break. And it's Rafter, who was a break down in each of the first 2 sets, who gets the first break in the third. 3-2 he leads. Patrick Rafter up 3-2. with the break now in the final set. Let's just continue on down the draw. We mentioned that Curtin plays Escudé or Beresetegi. Two qualifiers meet for the right to play Yevgeny Kavelnikov. Carlos Moya will play either a qualifier or Todd Woodbridge. Thomas Johansson or a qualifier will play Jonas Bjorkman. 13th ace.
Well, we saw him knocking the racket into the court just now like a very diligent blacksmith, and he's really ramming home his advantage now, Rafter.
Richard Krajicek will play Magnus Larsson or Fabrice Santoro, who met yesterday with Larsson winning to play Krajicek today. That match coming up after this. Cedric Pierline plays Lionel Roux to play Patrick Rafter. Sergio Bruguera waits either Mark Kevin Goldner or Albert Portis of Spain. I would think that's a shoe-in for Goldner. Philip de Wolf and meets Guillaume Roux for the right to play Marcelo Rios. Lovely point.
Well, having said he was ramming home his advantage, he then proceeded to play a couple of loose points. But finally gritting his teeth here and coming up looking pretty sharp, Rafter. Martin not able to control the return. Pretty good serve.
Seventh double fault. Just going on down the draw. Thomas Enquist, the defending champion and 16th seed, will play the winner of two qualifiers, and Martin Dam and Magnus Gustafsson meet for the right to play second seed Michael Chang. Well, it was a struggle, but Rafter eventually consolidates his break.
Well, he's very physical, and we're looking at two very, very different men, of course, not only in their approach to the game, perhaps in their build, but also in the way their year has gone for them. You think of Rafter, who's played so much tennis. Here he is in a long three-setter. And Martin, who hasn't played that much.
I'm reminded of She Stoops to Conquer, although I suppose we should change it to He Stoops to Conquer.
Yes, and acknowledging the fact that he's played so much tennis, all the more admirable that he should be getting down to things. You see him just puffing a bit there.
And so by the 15-all.
Big point that. Martin loses it and he smells the sour thought of losing, and he would smell the sweet smell of success.
First time Martin's got verbal, setting himself to hit it. 2 hours and 10 minutes they've been on court. I think you're right, Drew. He looks a little tired now.
Yes, he's having to whip himself to move, but he's still moving. And Martin just staying with that just long enough to keep it over.
Martin holds, but Rafter still has the edge. 4-3 up with a break. Final set. Looking back at these lovely low volleys from Rafter. Leads 4-3 in the final set with a break of serve. Don't forget, coming up after this, Richard Krajicek, who's already beaten Becker and Sampras this week against Magnus Larsson. Unlucky.
Well, it was a pretty good effort, but Rafter was at his sharpest here. Really told himself, obviously, at the change of ends to keep razor sharp, keep his man down.
Not often that Todd Martin gets as emotional as this.
Yeah, that's just what he said. It was a great serve. I can't get to the great serve. Sort of a backhanded compliment.
Fourteenth ace from Pat Rafter. Couldn't have been more accurate. And Rafter, at one stage, was so close to defeat. Remember, at 5-all in the second set, he was break point down. Now Rafter, one game from victory. Three-five.
Well, throwing this ball just a little bit more to his right, Martin.
Couple of faults have really hurt Martin in this set. 3 of them in this set, and of course 2 of them in the game in which he lost his serve.
How she kept her hat on, I don't know. And Martin won the point because he's got the longer arm. Well, you've heard of people chipping and charging, as Rafter very often does. That was Martin just lobbing it in and charging. 133 kilometers an hour. It's as soft as they come.
Match point for Patrick Rafter. Well served. Just a 5th ace of the match from Martin after serve 5 in this set. On the line.
Just giving him a few too many opportunities because the serve hasn't quite got the steam that it customarily has. Very few times has he hit that first serve over the 180 kilometer an hour mark.
Todd Martin keeps Pat Rafter honest and forces him to serve out for the match at 5-4, final set. Welcome back as Patrick Rafter comes out to serve for a place in the semi-finals against Peter Korda. 2 hours and 22 minutes. These two have been grinding it away, but it's never been dull, this. There's been some moments of tremendous tennis.
That was a tired shot by Martin, because really that ball was there to be hit. You can hear he's pretty displeased with himself. First little breather he's had.
Swipe at the ground in frustration from Todd Martin as Patrick Rafter moves to 2 match points. And finishes it with the 15th ace. It was a battle, and Todd Martin shows that he's coming back to good form. But Rafter shows why he is the most improved player on the ADB Tour this year, and also why he's such a popular player. Rafter will play Korda in the semi-finals tomorrow.
Yes, he keeps at it hammer and tongs, doesn't he, Rafter? And he even seemed to be sprinting for the finishing line there, just when most of us would be really tired. And I think Todd Martin had shot his bolt somewhat in that second set. He came very, very close. 1 point perhaps late in the second, and the match might well have been his.